Hey guys, welcome to the analysis today. It is October 10th, and it's a Wednesday, of course, so we're right in the middle of the week as far as the market's concerned. And so today we're going to cover some of the pairs that I've been looking at. A few of them are bouncing or breaking some key areas, and so we definitely want to pay attention to those. There's not a lot of stuff going on as far as certain levels being tested, so we might cover a few less pairs than usual today, but still certainly we're going to check out the major ones that I've been watching and the ones that we've been talking about for the past few days. Alrighty, before we jump into that, let's take a look at our news for tomorrow. Alright guys, so as far as news is concerned, tomorrow's Thursday, so we do have the unemployment claims and the trade balance for the US dollar, and also the trade balance for the Canadian dollar. Okay, so that's 8:30 a.m. news right as the New York session is really picking up, and we definitely want to pay attention to those three red tagged events that are of course coming out at the same time. Now, what's not listed here on Forex Factory is the G7 meetings, which are going on tomorrow. So they're not listed here, but it is a major event, and we do want to pay attention to that. That would definitely be a red tagged event, typically, but it's not shown here again, so obviously there's no red tag for it. But certainly keep that in mind because it will affect the market, and depending on what goes on there, that could have some short-term and some long-term, perspective as far as these currencies are concerned. So definitely make note of that. Alright guys, so these are the terms, and basically it's just in place to tell you that the daily analysis is for educational purposes only, and that we're not registered or licensed or anything like that for investment advice. Okay, if you need to pause and read through that very thoroughly, please go ahead and do that, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into the analysis. So the first thing I wanted to point out was the euro dollar. And what's interesting about the euro dollar is that we are getting a push bar, kind of pushing price back up towards this 1.3 area, which we talked about expecting price to perhaps bounce up and test that level again. But it's not off this trend line, which is kind of what I was expecting as far as price action. We did recently have this break of the 1.3 area, and it went right back to this previous trend line and bounced from there. So as it bounced back down, I was expecting it to come down and test this area again, but it seems like it's going to bounce before getting down here based on the push bar that we see here. Now there still is the horizontal support level that it looks to be bouncing off. However, this trend line being so authoritative and being tested a lot of times, I expected that to pull price back into it at least one more time. So definitely looking like price is trying to push back up towards the 1.3 area, but it makes me a little nervous because it seems like price may want to come back down and test this trend line at least one more time. Okay, so that's the euro dollar. Keeping an eye on that one for sure. Alright, so we have the pound dollar as well here. Today's bar, more of a stall bar than anything. Pushed up a little bit at some points during the day, but overall we kind of ended the day with a little bit of a stall bar here. So tomorrow, you can look for a continuation of this little tiny base that's trying to build here, or oftentimes after a stall bar we just get another explosion to the downside, so we might very well expect that as well. Definitely going to be an interesting situation if we do continue downward, because like I said before, this level down here around 157 is kind of the next reasonable level to target, which is a nice target at that. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Pound dollar to me still looking like an overall short, and we are short on that on the copier, so I'm keeping that potential in my mind very much alive for a continuation of that bearish direction. The USD is also continuing its bounce off this top level here, which is kind of a wedge forming here, getting tighter together around 78. So looking like it's trying to continue down. We've had several bounces go all the way back down to test the bottom of this wedge, so looking like that might be a potential there. Keep an eye on this one as it continues downward and tightens up in that range. Alright, another pair that's kind of forming the opposite kind of wedge is the euro pound, and we had this strong bearish bar from yesterday, but as I mentioned yesterday, I'm still expecting the euro pound to kind of continue and make a higher high here, which would be this level here. 81.12 is basically the previous high, so I'm still expecting price to push beyond that during this next rally, and it looks like we're getting a push of that right now with this tail bar, so keep an eye on that one also. Alright, another pair that I want to take a quick look at here was the USDCAD, and I just want to show you that it is rounding out and looking like it's trying to come back and test this top trend line, And remember that we talked about a strong bounce off this trend line or a break of this trend line, either one creating a good trade opportunity. So be ready for that. Tomorrow, depending on how good or bad the US dollar news is, could affect whether we get here or even break that level over the next few days. All right, so keep that level in mind, and notice that it looks like price is definitely rounding up and trying to make some movement in the upward direction. And speaking of rounding up, the odd US dollar is still trying to bounce off this 101.68 area, which is exactly where I have my line drawn. Still trying to push off that. No really strong candles yet. However, still definitely staying above water with 3 bullish bars in a row. So again, depending on news, we could see a bounce continuation of this one all the way up to this top level, which is one we've talked about. So keep an eye on that one as well. Alrighty guys, and the last pair I wanted to show you really quick was the Pound New Zealand, because it's another pair that we're in on the copier. So I always like to try to show the trades that we're taking on the copier. And we're in a pound dollar short and a pound New Zealand long, as I mentioned yesterday, as kind of a hedge on the pound currency to kind of protect us as we trade. So the pound New Zealand, as we can see here, is still trying to bounce, and we're long right at the close here, so we're up a few pips here trying to bounce, but we haven't really had a strong candle yet. I'm expecting the pound to at least bounce up to here on the New Zealand dollar at the top of this little channel over the next few days. Excuse me. So we'll see if we get some continuation of that, and certainly could be a nice trade if the pound New Zealand heads up and the pound dollar heads down, because it provides you that rare opportunity to win on both sides, even though you're hedged, which is always a great place to be. So that's something that we're looking at. Hopefully this pound New Zealand will pick up a little bit tomorrow, because it really hasn't had a momentum bullish bar in a few days here. So we'll look to see if that can continue during the day tomorrow. Alrighty guys, well that's about it for the analysis. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you tomorrow.